Good evening. Call to order the Revere School Committee meeting of January 21st, 2025. We'll all rise and salute the flag. Call the roll.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo, Mr. Caggiano,
Here.
Mr. Kingston,
Here.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Present.
Miss Monterosso,
Present.
Mr. Sinella, Mayor Keefe.
Here. And, it looks like Mr. Sinella is, is that him?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Sinella is present, but not present. Okay. The first item on the agenda is the recognition regarding our heroes and helpers. And we have some members in the audience. We'd love to have you come on up. Miss Kelly, did you want to?
I believe Dr. Galucci
Oh,
is.
Mr. Galucci.
So I would like to present these certificates of recognition to Captain O'Hara and Lieutenant Larry for their unbelievable leadership and partnership with the Revere Public Schools and students and families in Revere. I will say that both Erin and Amy came to me with this idea. This was not a school idea. It was an idea generated by our partners at the RPD and RFD to take 30 children shopping at Target in early December. And needless to say, they helped with the coordination, the scheduling, everything. And even still, as I was kind of deep within the planning with them, when I showed up at the event, I was absolutely blown away. 30 shopping carts decorated for each child, and so many Revere firefighters, Revere police personnel, each of whom accompanied the child on their shopping trip with a $110 gift card to Target. In addition, we had contributions via their network with the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office, as well as members of the Massachusetts State Police, all who were there on their own time. We had a pizza party before the shopping spree, and then each of us escorted one child around Target so that they could buy toys for either themselves or family members, which was very touching to hear the kids saying that they wanted to buy things for their siblings. But none of this could have happened without Amy and Erin and all the members of the RFD and RPD. And so these certificates, the first two are to Amy and Erin. It says Revere Police Captain Amy O'Hara and Revere Fire Lieutenant Erin Larry in recognition of outstanding leadership and partnership in coordinating the Heroes and Helper program for the students of Revere Public Schools. So Captain O'Hara. And Lieutenant Larry. In addition, the participation was so overwhelming, we would have been remiss if we did not recognize every one of the Revere Fire and Revere Police personnel that showed up that evening. And so, to save a few trees, we have a certificate for the entire RPD and the entire RFD staff for their outstanding leadership and partnership with Revere Public Schools. And before I turn it over to Captain O'Hara and Lieutenant Larry, I just want to say how fortunate we are as a school district to have that close partnership with the people that keep us safe and respond to all of the emergencies throughout the city. When nobody else is coming, they are there. And to our fabulous SROs who were at the very front of Target as soon as I stepped off the school bus, meeting families, greeting kids, and really directing all of the traffic into Target, into the pizza party. Thank you, Joe and Joe, as well as Raisa and Brian. Thank you all.
Richie, thank you. We thank you for these really kind words, but we would be remiss
if we did not recognize the collaboration from the superintendent and you and her team on this incredible event, our first time here. And also the members of the Revere Police and the Revere Fire Department who volunteered their own time to be involved in this incredible event. It really was a collaboration. I know Erin and I are up here, but it wouldn't have happened without the incredible collaboration of the officers, including my SROs here and other members of the Revere Fire Department. So thank you, but this really is a team effort, and it just shows how our community comes together to create these incredible events, not only to bring a little holiday cheer to some of our kids, but it's great for first responders to build these incredible, trusting relationships. So thank you, but I thank you on behalf of our department as well. Erin, do you have seen? No? Well, I just want to make it clear, it is a team effort. The collaboration is what made it possible, that, you know, is from our officers and our firefighters. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Captain and Lieutenant, would you care to come up and take a picture with the board, please?
We do a 2-minute recess?
Oh, we can, 1 minute recess. Yeah, we'll just a quick picture.
Nice try, Richie, nice try. You gonna be in the middle? No?
No.
Somebody.
Yeah.
All right, I took a bunch. Oh, no, that's all right. It would have been great for her to see us on her back. He's not bad.
Anyway, thank you, congratulations. Both. Thank you, thank you. And I realize at the SRO meetings, how much work, you really don't know.
Right. No, it's not, it's team effort.
No, I understand that, but it's just like, with all the meetings we had, it's just like, we did. Thank you.
Easy text. Okay, we're back to order. We also have, well, next up, we have the consent calendar.
Motion to approve?
We have any discussion? Roll call? That's you, Doc.
Miss,
He's thinking about pizza.
big time. Mrs. Bronson Rizzo, Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Miss Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes. Motion passes. And just for your edification, Miss Rizzo had to step out. Next, we have the student report. There is not one this month. We have the opening of public speak. Any viewing members of the audience participating on Zoom or anyone in our public here wishing to speak, now is your opportunity on any items on the agenda.
Motion to close public speak?
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
So ordered. Superintendent report, Ms. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have just a couple of presentations tonight under the superintendent's report. The first is from the Beachmont Veterans Memorial School. And I'm going to invite Principal Frierson to come on up. He's got several members of his team here, which I'm sure he will introduce. And they're going to share some information on the student supports that they have initiated this year at the Beachmont School and what they're seeing so far in terms of results of those. Accurate description, Principal Frierson?
Accurate description.
All right.
Sorry, the speaker one.
Okay. Yeah, accurate description. So, as the presentation gets pulled up, my name is Chris Friesen. I'm the proud principal of the Beachmont School, and I have with me my incredible team of Janelle Kraszewski, our assistant principal, Kayla Stoffel Vieira, who's one of our school adjustment counselor, and Vanessa Hogu, who's our school social worker. So tonight what we're going to be talking about is a little bit about the student support system that we have in place here at the Beachmont School and upgrades that we've made to our system over the past number of years. And we're going to share a little bit of data and some strategies that we've implemented and a tiered approach that has been successful. So a common goal as a staff this year is we challenged everybody at the beginning of the year to find the good and to help our students meet or exceed expectations, whether that's through academics, but also a big push is social emotional support as well. And the reason why in just the next slide. And the reason is from the school improvement plan is we want to make sure that our students report feeling safe and comfortable. If they don't feel safe and comfortable coming to school, it's going to be an uphill climb all day long. So from the school and district improvement plan, by 2025, 80% of our students will report feeling supported socially and emotionally in the Revere Public Schools, and by 2025, 80% of our students report feeling in control of their academic progress and capable of managing and thriving through social and emotional challenges. And at the Beachmont, like anything that we do, we really try to make sure that it is a team approach. And that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that these fine colleagues here next to me are here to support this presentation. So we've used data to inform our practice. So each year we do an MCIA student survey, and we take a look at that in the spring and during the summer and make adjustments to our practice based on some of the feedback that we get from students. Our counselors have done an awesome job this year of collecting student data throughout the year, so student surveys, and seeing how they're doing and making sure that they do feel safe and comfortable. We do a family survey at the end of every year. We've done that for the past 3 years, and then the district did a family survey at the end of last year, so I have some data to show there as well. And then we do staff check-ins and staff surveys at the end of each principal's meeting, but also at the end of the year, end of year survey, to make sure that staff have their voices being heard as well and make adjustments as necessary. So we can quickly kind of go through these, but these were some of the data points, MCIA data from both students and staff. And then I think that the next one kind of shows, the parent survey feedback that we received over the past number of years. So when it comes to the school being welcoming and effective communication and feeling valued, having input and access to resources, and they know what's happening, as you can see on a scale of 1 to 5, we are very close to, achieving I strongly agree in all of those different categories, which I'm very proud of. Thinking back to 2 years ago, I believe it was maybe 150 parents that answered the survey, and this was a little bit less, so about 100 parents were able to answer this survey, but it really helped support our work this year and taking a look at where we were a couple of years ago to where we are now and where we want to be in a couple of years from now.
So in terms of our student support team, it consists of myself, Ms. Hogu. I work with grades K, 2, and 4, and all of the Spanish-speaking newcomers. And we try to travel with our grades as every new school year comes. And Ms. Kayla Vieira works with 1, 3, and 5 in Portuguese-speaking newcomers. And usually what our student support meetings look like is that we really try to focus on the SEL needs of the students, and we identify students that might need additional supports, whether it's coming from admin's point of view or the teacher's point of view. And so we try to have a collaborative approach within the counselors and admin to see what else we can work with the families and collaborate on in terms of supports, as well as the family liaisons, and just trying to see like what the next steps are. So every time we meet as a student support team, we always end with coming up with what the next plan is, and whether that means collaborate with the families or just looking at what other needs they might have.
Okay, next slide, please. So since Vanessa and I started 3 years ago, we try to implement a school counselor that provides services to the whole school instead to focus only in small groups and individual counseling, because we're just two of us to attend all the population. So we really want to make the services available to all school students and families. So if you compare this slide with the next one for a first year and second year, you're going to see a decrease of small groups and individual sessions, and a large increase of classrooms lessons, circles, observations, contact with parents, teachers, consultations, and also crisis responses, because we're catching those things before they become a huge problem. So the really focus that we have is increase our interventions in tier 1. So that way our service is more available. You reach out to the massive of our students.
And I'll toggle a couple of times so you can see that difference. So for the committee, you can notice like teacher referrals are down. Crisis responses are about the same. But the observations have almost doubled. And that enables them to reach the students where they are before they hit a crisis situation.
Yeah, if you notice the classroom lessons and circles, we went to pretty much nothing to like a lot of interventions in classrooms, so we can give our kids, especially elementary kids, the foundational skills they don't have for social emotional support.
You know, and this is where I like to shout out the school committee for giving us an extra counselor. And I think that instead of just kind of like doing it the way that it was always done, I think we tried to think proactively of how to make sure that we are building these relationships with both students and families in a proactive way. I think the next slide, and this is, I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Principal Kraszewski.
So part of our meetings, we talk about the types of supports that we can offer students. What can we do to give everybody what they need? And it is a tiered approach. Tier 1, everybody has access to that. And that's, making sure that our environment is welcoming. Those buzz days, the kids love. It just builds an element of joy, and we'll talk about a little bit more about that later. We have buzz abouts that students can receive for going over and above or meeting the 4 Bs, safety, responsible, kindness, and respectful. I said that in the wrong order, but those are the 4 ones. And they receive these buzzabouts, and I acknowledge them in the cafeteria, and everybody cheers. I kind of thought it would fizzle out over time because, every single day calling kids, but you'll see, we have a video that the kids run up and they love it. We're reaching out to families, trying to, improve attendance. We have our parent coffees. We're just trying to get everybody involved because we know that parent engagement does lead to student success and achievement. So we're always trying to see how we can leverage those connections. And then there's tier 2 and tier 3 support, where it's more individualized. There could be check-in, check-out we're really proud of that we've started this year, and that, connects a student to a trusted adult to try to help kids meet our expectations. The Home for Little Wanderers, that's, a nice service that the clinician comes into the school and that's just another level of support that we can offer the kids. So that's an example of our buzz about. teachers try to make sure that everybody gets one at some point. Everybody's being recognized for the good that they're doing. Or, you know, if kids are improving, we want to make sure that we recognize that, you know, small gains. This is what it looks like. I read it over the microphone, kids clap, and they run up. It's exciting.
What? There's a video.
Oh, there's a video.
Yeah, if you click
should
on it,
click.
it takes you over.
I don't know if I have the clickable version.
Oh, that's sad. It's exciting.
I will, but just kids cheering.
I'll start my morning like that.
Yeah.
So, and I spoke about this a couple of years ago, but we've improved our buzz days. We've repurposed our half days where instead of going to encore, students experience what we call 30 minutes of joy, going back to the original slide of like finding the good. So instead of going to encore, students participate in these fun themed activities on the half day, and they also receive 90 minutes of focused academic support, but also building these SEL skills and community building lessons within, you know, that very short day. So our Buzz Days have continued to be something I'm very proud of, and it's a complete group effort. And you know, if you come into the Beachmont School on one of these half days, you will see kids smiling, having fun, but also being held to high expectations. So these are just a couple of pictures of some recent Buzz Days.
And I'll just mention for the committee, because we had talked earlier about the grant that the Paul Revere School got about play in school. These Buzz Days and experiencing the joy and talking about the joy are a very similar concept.
There's a lot of bee puns always at the end. So also on these Buzz Days, just some pictures here. You have examples of like hands-on activities, and also, you know, some restorative practice work. So you see our fourth graders here doing a grade level circle to talk about whatever the issue of the day may be.
Support attendance too, right?
Yep. So more with I'll take this. More with restorative circles, you know, and our counselors support that work as well. And even the next slide, what we did at our last parent coffee is we have parents that participated in a circle. So it was, I think we had 50 to 60 parents that attended our coffee, and it was probably one of our best ones yet. And they were able to talk about their kids in a real and meaningful way. And I think that you know, it's going to push me to think about how we want to do parent coffees moving forward. But I think it gave parents a voice and was awesome for them to participate.
And there was language based, so we have groups in Spanish, English, and Portuguese, and Arabic.
I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Kay.
Okay. So here's our tier 2 intervention called check in, check out. I love this. So teachers can refer students that need some extra support. It could be kids that, you know, they're struggling, you know, with getting to school on time, or they're just struggling throughout the day, or struggling to get their work done or to make good choices. So we pair up teachers and kids that we think maybe have a connection, and then they become their trusted adult because they're checking in and they're giving points or smiley faces, and then they're working towards a goal or maybe a reward. And the kids have really taken to this, and they look for their trusted adult throughout the building. And the staff have been so wonderful. You know, they make sure that they have time to check in quickly in the morning and then to check in at the end of the day. You'll see teachers being like, oh, I got to get to my kid. And I think that this has really had a positive impact on the students. So we're looking to expand that and get more staff involved. It's been a really positive change. Yeah.
And then finally, you know, I know that something that will always come up here is, you know, there are obviously situations that, you know, require us to have some sort of consequence. You know, and I think as a Beachmont administration, our approach is to do this in a restorative way, but making sure that, you know, families understand, you know, the severity of certain situation, but also to have next steps and to approach it in a humane way. We utilize our counselors to support students with understanding, kind of like the harm that was done in certain situations, and to come up with, some next steps to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And does it happen again? Yeah, it happens again, but we're going to keep being there for them to make sure that, we've done our due diligence in supporting students throughout, their time at the Beachmont. And then we've, spent a lot of time over the past several years in terms of restorative practices and helping staff really understand that, and staff is owning this as well. I mean, I think that this is just, it's really a group approach to how we handle pretty much everything at the Beachmont School, and I think everybody really has a voice and a part to play in this. And the system's not perfect, but I think that, each year we're trying to get a little bit better at it.
And to support our students, we want to make sure that the staff feel comfortable and know what they're doing, so we can be in the same page to talk to our students, so teachers have an idea what they should manage in classroom, what they should refer to counselor, what would be admin manager. So that's a way to support the staff, how to handle when things unexpected happen, and we can support our students to meet their needs, but especially in the way support the staff to feel comfortable to dealing with those things too. And all of that in the next slide, you're gonna see we try to really go through the lens of the restorative practices. So it's not a detention just like you're gonna stay there and you're gonna miss lunch. No, you're gonna think about what you did, what you learned from that, and what you can do different next time. So we have reflection sheets, we're talking about things that happen, how can we make different choices next time, and also keep the transparency with our parents. Your kid is in detention because of this, we're talking about this, and that's going to be the consequence, so we can meet all areas and really reflect about and learn more. And all this, the approach that we have, according to the next slide, we try to really meet all the needs of our students, because the optimal level of learn just happens when all of those needs are met. So we need to make sure that we don't have control about lots of things in the school, but we can support our families and the students to make sure that their needs are being met, like the physiological, the safe, the welcoming. So we make sure that everything that happens at Beachmont is in some way answer the needs of our students and families.
And if it's not, we're open to feedback. So thank you for your time. And if there's any questions, I don't know.
Ms. Milbury Ellis.
Sure. My first question was, in the first slide, you had indicated that by 2025, you wanted the percentage to be 80% of kids felt safe. Do you know what it is now?
So I would say from our, and this is where it's like many different data points, but I think that I'm comfortable saying that it's well over 80%, in terms of the surveys that we've looked at.
That you've done.
Yeah.
The student surveys.
There would be enough evidence to support that claim.
Yeah, and I think the data that you showed where the ratings from families between a 0 and a 5 were around 4.7, 4.8, which would be over 90%, 95% really.
Mr. Kingston.
I've been to Culture Night at Beachmont. I've been to Trunk or Treat at Beachmont. I did it. And I've also, and I've lost on the third one, I apologize. But I do spend a lot of time down there. I think it's a very welcoming environment, as all our schools are, but I especially can say that about Beachmont, having been to those events. I think it's great. You get I'm amazed at the number of people for a small school, the number of parents and kids that are there. I've done Trunk or Treat for a few years down there, and it's just great. And the Culture Night and the cookie decorating thing was great. So I really appreciate what you folks are doing, and I know that people do feel safe, and I just see it in their faces. I mean, I'm standing there doing Trunk or Treat, giving out candy to kids, and I can see how happy they are. And at the Culture Night was fun. You had activities for them, and I was giving them pizza. That was fun. And then, the making the cookies was cool too. So I appreciate all that you do. I know it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of time after school, and I'm always amazed when I see whatever building I'm in, seeing teachers doing above and beyond well after school hours. And I think it's great, and I'll applaud you and the rest of the district for that, because I know other schools do it too, but I know I've been at yours, someone drags me there, and I'm always make sure that I'm there. Yeah. So I appreciate what you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a second question as well. Thank you for answering the first one. I know John was eager to talk about cultural night. But my second question is, and this is all wonderful, this is all good stuff here. I'm interested in knowing what is your biggest obstacle that you see with respect to behavioral issues in particular?
Biggest obstacle, is this on? Oh, there we go. Biggest obstacle, I don't know. I think that like every day is a new day. So I don't think that we're seeing, trends where like the same thing is popping up every single day. I think that there are individual situations that, if I've learned anything is pulling different layers of the onion from a student. You figure out more things that are going on in their lives, and we make adjustments to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. And I think that, in a team approach, I think that what we try to do, even at those meetings, is really, talk about the individual kid, talk about the individual situation, and like, there's only so much, I guess, that we can do as a school, but there is a lot that we can do as a school. So trying to find that balance. But I don't think that there's any like one particular thing. And I just think that, for me and being a leader in the building, it's equipping the staff with the tools to the tool belt to be able to, support kids the best that we can. And so I think that that's always going to be a challenge, because I think that each year is a little bit different, but trying to really think outside the box in terms of our approach of student support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Caggiano?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for your presentation. I've been up to school a number of times. We've met a couple, we've sat down a few times. And every time I've gone up there, you have pictures up there. Everything seems very welcoming and everything. And most of my questions have pretty much been answered. But one question I wanted to ask you was, as far as safety for the kids, is when the kids go into the school, do they feel that they're safe there? I'm not counting what goes on in their private life, as far as the school itself, or is there anything more we need to do?
I don't know if anybody. I feel like these guys live it. They live it in the day to day. I can sit there and go, everything is gravy. But I think that they see it. They see it every single day. So.
I think from the moment that the kids step in, you can see that they feel safe. It's the way that we greet them, the way that they come in through the door. Everybody knows their name. I don't think there's a single kid that walks in through the door that not a single person that's at door duty or just in the front making sure that they have breakfast, that they come in good standing. For my part and from her standpoint, we've never gotten I don't want to come to school because I'm unsafe. They feel welcomed. I think having two counselors that speak their native languages, and for some cases, helps solidify that for the families as well, and know that their kids are being well taken care of, and that their needs are being met within the school. So.
And I do feel like the fact that we speak the language help the families to make that connection about culture. So we understand beyond the language.
Right.
So we understand as immigrants ourselves exactly what they're going through. And we never had a student that didn't talk to us about issue and say like, oh, I was afraid to say that. They always say like, I know I can tell Miss Kayla, I know I can tell Miss Hogo. So they always trust us that we're gonna fight for them and we're gonna be with them throughout any problem they bring to us. So I do feel like, and even the classrooms lessons, we talk to them about safety protocols, why we have those in the school, why we don't touch the doors, why we have fire drills, so they can feel safe even with the protocols that we have in the school. So I feel like the transparency goes in everything we do, and that makes the whole difference.
Thank you.
I had one comment. Great presentation. You always do a really good job in echoing everyone else's comments. We always love going to that school. They're all special schools. We know each one of them individually, but you do have some secret sauce going on over there. I think Erica at the front doors, big provider of the safety as well. She does a fantastic job. But my curiosity, because we see it, we feel it when we walk in the building, the way your students engage and the way your team engages, is what is the absentee rate in your school compared to other schools in the district? Or maybe
I don't know if I have access to other schools, but I know that like ours is right around 95%. So in terms of our attendance rating, it's something that we take a look at daily. and myself and Ms. Kay, try to figure out, how to improve it and to make sure that, a goal of ours is to make sure that students are not chronically absent. So having the difficult phone calls, having the difficult meetings, we had to have, meetings today, and you're walking this fine line of, kids are sick right now. It's flu season, all of this other stuff, but making sure that we have, clear expectations that we want you here. And when you're here, it's going to be, you're going to get the most that you can possibly get out of it. So I think that, again, it's a group effort. It's communication with families, but getting buy-in from families, and we're grateful for our families. We have special families at the Beachmont School that I feel proud to work with their kids every single day.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the key, right? They want to be there. They'll show up. Otherwise, I don't want to go to school. If they have a great environment, which you're providing, you're going to want to keep coming. Thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you, all of you.
Continue. Very good, yeah.
I figured it.
The next item on the superintendent's report is a presentation from our multilingual and world languages department. And I'm happy to invite our director, Jennifer Labolita, and our assistant director up to share some information and data. And I'm going to try to share my screen again. Sorry, you can start talking just while I pull this up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us again. My name is Jennifer Labolita. I'm the director of the Multilingual and World Language Department, and I'm here with my colleague.
Chelsea Banks, Assistant Director. Thank you.
So we will start with sharing a little bit of our data. So as you will be able to see, and if you can see in your packet, you got the chart in front of you. You can see over the last 30 years, we've had a growing enrollment for our multilingual students, for our English learners. And especially in the last 5 years, since 2020, there we go, if you go to the next slide. We've gone from about 23% of the district to over 36% of the district, with over 2,600 students that are in process of learning English currently. Something to share, our multilingual students come from 50 countries and speak over 45 languages, which is an incredible gift. We are one of the most linguistically and culturally diverse cities in the entire state. Over 70% of our students are multilingual. So we are here to celebrate and cherish and honor that. And that is what our work is every day, to support our students. So if you look at the world
trying
language.
to reshare it. I don't know what just happened.
So sorry.
Why is it coming up black?
Okay, we'll wait 1 second.
Go ahead. They have it in their packets, so
Okay.
you can just keep going.
So for our world language enrollment, you can see that we offer Spanish, French, and Italian, as we have for many years. We're very proud that this year we offered Arabic 1 as a world language elective offering for students, and we are one of the few cities in the state to offer Arabic. And then City Lab continues to offer Japanese, which is a very popular course, and the kids are really, really enjoying it. Okay. So then if you continue to the next slide, we'll talk you through some Access 2024 data. So percentage of students making progress. So what this refers to, you can see I selected just a few districts, but I did an analysis of all the districts in the state of Massachusetts with 1,000 or more students who are learning English. So of all of those districts, we are second in the state for the second year in a row for the percentage of students making progress. You can see we had 44% last year, I believe it was 45%, so pretty much consistent, whereas the state average is 37%. Let me explain what making progress means. So if a student is here, let's say in 2023, they take the assessment and they score a 3 out of 6, then they are given a target for the following year to achieve, let's say a 3.5. So if students do meet that target or exceed that target, they are considered to have made progress. But if they do not meet that target, they are considered to not have made progress, even if they have developed and grown. So progress, this first graph, is a binary yes or no, which is why 44% being very strong in the state, it doesn't sound great. It's not where we want to be. We always want 100% of our students to make progress. But I will say that because this is a binary yes or no, it does not show the true picture of the progress that our students are making. So I want to say that this is a credit to the hard work of our students, our teachers, our school administrators, and to the increased staffing that we've had over the years, our coaching over the years. I really feel like we're moving in the right direction with the progress for our students.
And before we go on, can I add one more thing that I
Please.
noticed in this data, Jen, after you shared it?
Yes.
Was if you look at the trends from 2023 to 2024, so this top one I'm highlighting is Quincy, and you can see that they went down. And if you look at all of these others, you see that most of them are going down. The exceptions are Revere, as Jen pointed out, pretty level. Everett, pretty level. And Chelsea, it's kind of hidden here. Right, is that Chelsea or is it the state under here?
The state's great.
Okay, all right, so then I take it back, but, so Everett and Chelsea are two of our partner districts that we
Yes.
work very closely with. And so for all of us to be seeing kind of a steady level of students showing progress when the rest of the state is going down, I think is a really significant point to note.
Absolutely.
And that's due to your hard work and your leadership, so.
I appreciate that. So if we go to the next slide, it's about student growth. So the difference here is student growth is measured on a scale from 1 to 99, 1 being low and 99 being high. So the state considers 1 to 39 as low growth. So you can see we broke apart red extremely low and a yellow. And then average growth is between a 40 and a 59. So you can see nearly 20% of students fall in that average expected growth range. And then our students who are making high, exceptional progress, we have nearly 48% of students there. So if you compare this and you think, well, 66% or more of our students are making expected to strong growth, yet only 44% are considered making progress. But it shows the majority of our students are growing at the rate that is expected. They just maybe didn't make that exact target on that access assessment. Okay, so then I'll pass to Chelsea for a moment to talk about some priorities that we're working on.
So one initiative that we have expanded this year is multilingual learning walks in partnership with each of the schools. Last year, we piloted a look for tool from DESE, and this year we kind of built off of that to identify our own focus area. So we copied our focus goal here on the slide, thinking about how students are daily engaging in authentic speaking interactions, what's the language focus, what supports are in place. We identified that goal in looking at access scores and then looking at the results from our learning walks last year. So we've completed walkthroughs in each of the schools in collaboration with school administrators, school-based coaches, and teachers. We're moving into the next phase now where we're designing professional development and sharing resources around the different areas for growth that we identified in the learning walks. Later in the year, we'll return to the schools again to see kind of an end of year measure to think about growth, and then we'll use that data to identify priorities into the next year. As we've mentioned a few times, language development coaching has been an expanding initiative for the department. Right now we have 3 language development coaches, one for the high school level, working both with Revere High School and City Lab, one coach for the 3 middle schools, and one elementary coach supporting across the 6 buildings. So in our vision, we would be providing support at these 3 different levels. And so our coaches are really busy tackling all of these different opportunities. So at the district level, coaches are involved in designing and leading professional development. They, of course, collaborate with us, but we also collaborate with directors from other content areas, other coaches, to support curriculum development within ESL and best practices for multilingual learners across content areas. At the school level, additional professional development for teams of teachers or for the whole school. Coaches collaborate with administrators and school-based coaches to try to fine-tune, what does this individual school need? And a lot of support with compliance processes that we have, legal requirements for monitoring student progress and designing interventions. At the classroom level, our goal is that our coaches would be able to provide that one-on-one personalized support for teachers. Currently, this is happening to a greater degree at the secondary level, just in terms of the number of schools for each coach to support. They're able to do coaching cycles, get in the classroom to do some direct modeling, co-planning together, and that is in support of teachers of ESL, but also world language, core content, electives, supporting multilingual learners, which is in every classroom and touches each of us. On the world language side, as Jennifer mentioned, we've expanded our Arabic offerings with Arabic 1 this year, and that cohort will move into Arabic 2 for next year, which can fulfill the graduation requirement for world language. We also have a strand of Spanish specifically for heritage speakers. So these are students that come to us with some level of background in Spanish based on their home connection to the language. We have 3 levels, so our 3rd level is new this year, so that students can enter at the right fit for their proficiency level and really accelerate their progress, over the course of high school. Our goal for those students, as for all students, is that they would reach the AP level and earn the seal of biliteracy. And then finally, last year, we shared with you the new Foundations of Translation and Interpretation partnership with UMass Amherst. We're in the 2nd year now. That cohort is just getting started in the 2nd semester at Revere High School, and they're very excited to continue that work. Speaking of the Seal of Biliteracy, this is one of the ways that we really try to highlight the linguistic diversity of our community. Last year, we gave out 100 awards related to bilingualism. 73 of those were the official state seal of biliteracy. We have 115 students that are in the process now, and for any seniors listening or families of seniors, we still have time to join in the process. And we are looking forward to celebrating all of the students participating at our award ceremony in May.
And then briefly, I'll share a few other projects that we're working on. As we shared, our coaches are continuing to work on ESL curriculum development. We are also part of a partnership with DESE and the English Learner Success Forum to work on high-quality instructional materials at the middle school level. It's a partnership with Dr. Porter and myself and our middle school coaches, along with Dr. Garcia, and a partnership with UMass Amherst Translation Center and DESE. We are also part of a 2-year language access planning committee where we look to examine our practices in supporting our 2-way family communication and ensuring we have appropriate translation and interpretation to provide support and resources, and again, have that 2-way communication with all of our families. And we also are proud that we just received a competitive grant from DESE to support our multilingual students who are experiencing housing insecurity. So schools have access to funds, and we're doing a lot of different things with those funds. Okay, so on our last slide, I know the state budget is coming out shortly, so I just want to put a plug. I got to take my chance when I see you, because I'm not here all that often. As you've heard about our language development coaching, I really think that's one of our strengths, that we're working to give teachers the support that they need. We have educators from all backgrounds, all experiences. So many of our students are learning English, and it's important that every teacher feels prepared and confident to meet the needs of the students in front of them. So I'm requesting that you consider adding 2 additional elementary language development coaches. So that would give us 3, so that each could work with 2 schools and really be able to do more work with teachers in their classroom, to be giving demos and modeling and supporting and really giving that one-to-one support that teachers need. And then, of course, I always put our asterisk. We've increased our ESL staffing greatly, and our ratios are pretty strong. But given, you never know what goes on with enrollment, it doesn't mean that I might not be asking for a position or 2 as we look at our numbers in the spring. So that concludes my prepared section, but we're happy to take questions or comments.
Ms. Monterrosa.
Thank you so much for all of these updates, and congratulations on the grant. My question is more on feedback I've received from students specifically at the high school level. So my first question, things may have changed with the restructuring of the high school, but English learners, especially those at the level 1, had shared with me that they felt separated at the high school because all of the English EL classrooms were in just like one area of the school, so they didn't really come out of that bubble to interact with the rest of the school community. So my first question is, what does support for inclusion within the school and the culture look like, especially for our level 1 learners? That's the first question.
So I think location-wise, I don't believe when I think about the teachers that we work with that they're in any one particular wing or area. I feel like when I look across our colleagues, their rooms are spread around the building. We have 6 different levels.
Can I say
please.
that may have been a concern if you went back 2 years
In
before we
previous-
did the reorganization?
Okay, that-
Right.
I think all of our EL classes at the high school at that time were concentrated in the East Wing, but that's
Yeah.
no longer the
No.
case.
Okay.
No. So location-wise, I don't believe that that is a current concern. But then are you asking also for
In general,
greater integration
yes.
opportunities? Right? So we have many, many levels of ESL, and what we've done to provide students more access is increase the number of levels so that at an earlier proficiency level, students are integrated into mainstream content, science, math, and social studies with their peers so that they have models, that they have access to grade level rigorous curriculum. And then specials or all of those choice classes, kids are fully integrated as well. So that's part of a strategic way that we've been scheduling. And now I will say there's 600 students at the high school level. So there's no way to contain and to be in one area. So integration is an important goal for all of us in the high school level.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I
And
figured.
can I ask Jen to share one more thing on that note? Can you talk a little bit about the inclusion classes that we now have at the high school where there's an EL teacher and an ELA teacher or a math teacher?
Yes. Yeah, so we have multiple layers of inclusion. So for our students with disabilities that need an IEP, that have an IEP, we have a special educator that can co-teach into our ESL classrooms. For our advanced students who are very close to that proficiency where they would exit ESL, they're in the grade level ELA 9, 10, etc. class, co-taught with one of our ESL educators alongside. And so depending on the grade level and the class size, the goal is for integration, right? Because if they had scored a tiny little bit higher, that's exactly where they'd be anyway. So we wanted to, again, push them into grade level opportunities with support. So we are co-teaching there, and teachers have 2 hands to support all of the kids. And then we also have ESL teachers working with our students in our small learning groups and other more sub-separate SLG programs so that all of our students who are identified as EL, whether they are duly identified or not, they are all receiving service and support.
Thank you. And then my last question is, high school students have mentioned how sometimes when they are in assemblies or they're having like the town halls where we're letting them know about policies and things, like there's no translators there. So they usually just sit in the back and they're like, well, I didn't know there was a change to the cell phone policy because I didn't understand. So what is being done to ensure that when messages are being communicated during school hours that all students actually understand the importance and the severity of the messaging?
Yeah, and I can certainly connect with Chris Bowen, but I know I'm here every day. I hear the announcements are multilingual. His emails to students go out and they're multilingual. I know SST5, which is primarily our newcomer and earlier proficiency students, that house does multilingual assemblies. I don't know if there's...
Just thinking about how a lot of information is communicated through Patriot Block, and so newcomers have been strategically grouped together so that the material could be presented in a different way, prioritizing bilingual staff whenever possible to support that. Just thinking, just today there was an announcement kind of resetting expectations around cell phones, and then that was delivered in Spanish as well, even just over the announcement. So I think there is, an effort and, should be something that we continue to work on, of course.
Thank you.
Mr. Kingston.
I really appreciate everything you do, and I want to thank you for that. Just doing quick math in my head, it seems to me that another elementary person is necessary, just doing quick math for a coach. Sorry, Dr. Kelly, that's how I feel. And I hope that we can have that conversation in the spring when we're doing the budget. My dad I'm not an educator, but my dad was an elementary principal for 30 years in Revere. And back in the day, it was Italian. It wasn't all the languages that we have today, but it was basically Italian. And he used to say if we could get the kids help when they're younger, it'll really reap dividends as they get older. Because sometimes kids get turned off to school because they're not, it's not... While the school is welcoming and doing everything they can, it's just that barrier can create some problems with kids not wanting to go to school. And if that's something that's, scattered when they're kind of young. So he was always a big proponent of let's fix it when they're younger, because it's sometimes can really be life-changing for the students. So I just wanted to say that. But thank you for all you do. I know it's difficult. It really is. It's difficult. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on the superintendent's report is just a reminder to the committee that there is a joint meeting of the school committee and the school building committee tomorrow night on Zoom. And that link can be found on either the city website or our website. It begins at 5:30, and there will be an update on where we are as currently our contractors, our owner's project manager, and others are getting ready to submit paperwork to the MSBA. And so this is an important information point in the process. And so we requested, rather than have yet another meeting, that we do a joint meeting. And we're thankful to this committee for agreeing to that, because it's one less meeting for all of us. So thank you for that. Just a quick reminder. And then the other thing, I had sent you all a copy of a letter that we're going to be sending home to families shortly. And that is about the graduation requirements and how things have changed, or in large part, I'm going to say they have not, based on the new law around MCAS no longer counting as a graduation requirement, whereas it used to. And one of the things that I think is really important for folks to understand, and all of this will be laid out in the letter so that parents can make informed decisions on behalf of their children, is that the MCAS has not gone away, which is what some people think. It's the graduation requirement that went away. Currently, students are still required by federal law to take the state assessment at certain grade levels, which we will continue to do. And for our context, I want to point out that there are two reasons why taking MCAS are important to our students. One is because it is still used as a qualifier for the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, which gives any student in the Commonwealth free tuition at any state college or university or community college if they get at least proficient on one of the math and English exams and exemplary on the other. So that's an important resource to families who are looking for ways to help pay for college. And the second, as I should have brought this up when our when our team was just here from the EL department and the World Languages department, MCAS is still used as a determinant in whether or not a student can earn the seal of biliteracy. That's how they demonstrate their literacy in English language arts. And so it's really important, if kids are looking to get the seal of biliteracy, which again has some, opens some doors for them in terms of their ability to get work after high school, and also that scholarship situation. So MCAS is not gone. It's just not counted as a graduation requirement. And I'll tell you that there are a number of districts in the Commonwealth that may not have had as stringent graduation requirements as others, including the Revere Public Schools. But I'm proud to say that our students for a number of years have been required to complete the equivalent of the Mass Core. That's 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 3 years of a lab science. There are some districts where kids are still not required to take 4 years of math. And instead of taking a lab science, specifically biology, chemistry, and physics, they might be allowed to take earth science as a high school student and have that count toward graduation. In those districts, they're having to revisit their graduation requirements, but we in Revere already had a more stringent requirement. So basically the change for students and families is that they don't have to pass MCAS to graduate. They still have to do everything else that's outlined in the guide for families and students, which will be linked in the letter that goes home to families, that they can click right on that. It'll take them directly to the right page. I think that pretty much covers everything. We are still required by state law to identify each student as having completed a competency determination or not. And the guidance that we got from the state is that a competency determination will be earned when a student completes the coursework that's relatively similar to what was required in order to pass MCAS. So generally speaking, that would mean algebra and geometry and math, English 9 and 10 in English language arts, and biology, because that's what our MCAS tested our students in. So for the most part, for most students, they're automatically going to hit that competency determination as they work their way towards our graduation requirements, which include even more than that. We don't separate out algebra and geometry. We teach our math in an integrated format, but integrated math 1 and integrated math 2 would be the equivalent of your traditional algebra and geometry class. There are, so if you look at the top of page 2 of the letter, it says that here's what the kids have to have finished to get the competency determination. Integrated math 1, integrated math 2, English 9, English 10, and one of the lab sciences. There are some changes for students with IEP services that place them in the Excel program, and that just changes the particular course that they're taking. They take concepts in Math 1 and concepts in Math 2, which are a required subset of the full set of standards that other students take in those courses. But they're largely the same as the courses that kids take in our inclusion classrooms. There are also some changes for English learner students, and this will speak to the point that Ms. Labalita made about the different offerings, the different levels that we have for kids. It's when they come to us determines a lot about what they're ready to learn in English, and what they might need more support on. So it would be any two of ESL 1, ESL 2, ESL 3, ESL 4, ESL Advanced 9, ESL Advanced 10, ESL Advanced 11, or ESL Advanced 12. Any two of those would meet the equivalent of ELA 9 and ELA 10. Like all other kids, they still have to complete integrated math 1, integrated math 2, and one of the lab sciences. And the other things that we point out in the letter really are that there could be exceptions to this rule based on kids. Some kids will transfer in from out of state where they might have had different regulations in what coursework we are required to take. In situations like that, our guidance office audits their full transcript and makes determinations on what courses can apply or are similar but maybe named differently than our courses. That's done on a case-by-case basis, and Diana Finn, who's our Director of Guidance, does a great job of helping to navigate that and make sure students are treated fairly. So I don't think this is a huge change, even though it sounds like a huge change. It's not a huge change in terms of what our kids in Revere have to do to graduate. Really, the big difference is they don't have to pass MCAS. But I want to emphasize there are a lot of really good reasons why they should still take that test seriously.
Ms. Monterosso.
I think once again, it's a relief that our district is always ahead. You know, there's districts that are right now committees scrambling to figure out what they want the new requirement to be. And so for the students graduating now and next year, we have a solution. But, you know, I do want to bring to the committee, and I hope you all support it when the time is right, that this is a chance for us to really look through our graduation requirements and see how they can be more innovative, so we're preparing students. So whether it's adding that every student has to complete FAFSA, because sometimes they graduate, they realize they do want to go to college after, and now they don't know how to do FAFSA, or we require that they take at least one advanced course, or how are we integrating our voc and trade courses into their graduation requirements. And then, you know, I think we should ask for more than 26 community service hours. I'm not saying they need the 200 I needed to graduate, but I think, you know, there's been a lot of changes right now to our high schools, and we have a solution for now, and this will take time and stakeholders, but when the time is right, I do want us to revisit how we can bring, you know, our requirements up to date so they are more rigorous for our students.
You reminded me of one other thing when you mentioned our current students. This decision does have implications for students who graduated in past years, and we are still working through that, but to let students, I shouldn't have used the word graduated there. I should say students who finished high school but did not get a diploma because they didn't pass MCAS in past years, and we are working on that. We're working through some guidance from the state on that. We've been told by the commissioner that there'll be additional guidance coming out in the coming weeks, and we will be reaching out to every student who falls into that category in the near future as soon as we have accurate information, and helping them understand what, if anything, they need to do to get their diplomas. So we are working on that. I don't want anybody to think that we're not working on that piece of it too. And Dr. Galucci, were you going to share that? Or did you sent me?
Yeah, I didn't know.
You want to do that under the superintendent's report? Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a hard, I was gonna go grab one.
Oh, I have it lined up to display, if I can figure out how to do that, all right.
All right, so I wanted to update the community about a recent initiative that we undertook in regards to safety. So Mr. Kingston brought to my attention that one of the schools had our internal personal commands printed on what is the size of an ID card. And what we decided to do was duplicate that, and I have to give credit, as Mr. Kingston told me, to Miss Magno at the Lincoln Elementary School for the initial idea about the internal commands. And what we ended up doing was making it a two-sided card where we also the state puts out how to interact quickly and silently with 911 if you were in a scenario where you couldn't verbalize what you needed to tell them. And so they have this silent 911 code that we took and kind of made user-friendly, where someone can text 911 in an emergency situation. If they need police, they simply press 1 and send that to the 911 text. Fire 2, ambulance 3. If you need all 3, it's 1, 2, and 3. Once the 911 operator starts corresponding with that person, it becomes a 2-digit code down the bottom, where if you're going to answer the 911 operator with yes, you press 4, and if you're going to answer with no, you press 5. So now this two-sided card, which has the silent 911 calls as well as our internal command, rests behind the staff member's ID card. And as we've talked a lot about on this committee, during an emergency situation, people's executive functioning often goes out the window. It's very difficult to do simplistic tasks, to recall simplistic information. And so this is yet another available tool for someone that's hanging around their neck and that they can reference during an emergency situation. So I want to thank Mr. Kingston and Ms. Magno for bringing this idea to me, and Ms. Flynn for working with our Life Touch company, who was gracious enough to give us these cards for free and print them. And so really, really nice team effort.
And one clarifier, Dr. Colucci, these codes that you just shared on the silent 911,
Yep.
those are not unique to the school. This
Nope.
is for everybody, anywhere. If you ever find yourself in trouble,
Yep.
these codes are the same no matter where you are.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, the day in which Mr. Kingston brought this idea about the internal codes, I happened to get something from the Massachusetts Office of 911 that displayed these 911 codes. And so they went hand in hand, and it was just perfect timing all around.
Mr. Kingston.
I just want to thank Dr. Galucci for taking the idea and running with it. Ms. Magno did approach me about it. It was definitely her idea, so I'm not taking credit for anything. I strongly and I really appreciate Dr. Galucci. This could have just died or just kind of gone in the hopper, but he jumped on it. And I know I've talked to some teachers about it, and they really do like it. Because as you said, when the chips are down and all of a sudden, what do? It's nice to have something to rely on that's real close by. So I mean that sincerely. I really appreciate what you did, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. So no hearings or reports of the subcommittees. We have motions. Motion, yes, Ms. Monterosso.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to switch the location for school committee meetings to the city council chambers. And if there's a second, then I can explain the reason for the motion.
I'll second it.
So to explain, we had, I think, unanimously agreed to make the switch earlier last year, but I think last month there was conversations about not switching. So for the sake of the chambers freeing up and the city clerk knowing what's going on, I think it's best if we have like an official vote on whether we want to stay here or not, so that the city just knows what's going on. Okay. There's.
So we have a second, and then there's any discussion?
What is the actual vote going to be?
So the vote is to change to city chamber. So if we want to stay here, you would vote no,
Once you hear it's no.
I guess.
Ms. Kelly?
I was, for the people at home who might be wondering what the context is, one of the decisions that the school committee made earlier this year was to free up this room because we're so overcrowded at the high school. And when we did the scheduling back in September, Mr. Bowen and Ms. Finn shared that we were actually okay for semester one, that they had enough rooms in the high school to schedule all of the classes that needed to be scheduled, but they foreshadowed that it would be a problem for second semester and that they would have to have at least 2 periods a day when they were going to be in this room. And so we were talking about how we anticipate this problem to exacerbate. We were talking about adding 2 members to the committee after the next election based on the new law and how would all of that work. I did share with a couple of you, because I know that we've had conversations, that the high school does still need to use this room second semester. But if the committee wanted to continue to have this be the school committee room, Mr. Bowen said they can easily put smaller classes in here so that they're not removing the dais or anything like that. We would hang a couple of whiteboards. I know he's actually already ordered the whiteboards to hang for the teacher. They already have the technology in place for the teacher to use to conduct the classes. So he didn't think it would be an issue for the school committee to stay here as long as the meetings were after school hours, which they are. If there was going to be a subcommittee meeting or an emergency meeting or anything like that during school hours, we would have to think about using a different venue for that. So just to give the folks at home some context on why the committee is talking about this, I just want to share that.
Ms. Milbury?
I just have a quick question. Weren't we going to look into the technological aspects of moving up to the council chambers?
So given the updates that were made, they have now everything we would need to function. So they have computers at every desk, and they have screens as well. So they have whatever tech we need if people wanted to move.
You just reminded me of that context because the decision was made to stay here. Part of the reasoning was that City Hall was undergoing some kind of renovation with their sound system.
Right.
So we didn't want to move right then. That was another reason we didn't want to move right then.
There was stuff going on with their
Yeah.
technology.
So the technology has been upgraded and the speakers. The only thing, I'll just say this selfishly, it's easier for myself, right? But I don't want to put my needs first. I look across here, we have Robin, you have the educators. This is a building that they don't have to travel very far to participate, and they're a big part of it. And I'm not necessarily, I don't want to uproot them unless there's a real, if it's going to provide space for the school and the students and it's going to create less chaos, then I'm all for it. But I don't want to do this, especially in a short period of time. If this,
Benefit to it.
this might be a 2 or 3 year thing, and then there's going to be a new school, so that's going to be a moot point. And that's the only thing I say. No, Dr. Kelly, your office is right there. You can run down there. But again, selfishly, come on to my house. I don't have to travel very far.
Stay in here and have another space.
But I guess that's the only thing I want to put in everyone's back of everyone's head.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sinella.
through you to the superintendent, what is your preference?
For the same reason that the mayor just laid out why he would prefer that we go to City Hall, I would prefer that we stay here. like, as he said, just being attached to the office, being able to work right up until the minute of the meetings starting, being able to request that a staff member run down to pull some information if we need it. You know, Ms. Labolita and Ms. Banks are located in this office, so there's a lot of times there are presentations that people can come right from their office to this room and give a presentation to the school committee, where going up to City Hall might be a little bit different. That said, if it's better for the committee and better for the city, we would obviously make that work.
But I think as a point of clarification, it was mentioned that we could accommodate a classroom and still have our meetings without too much interruption.
That is correct. That is correct, yep.
All right, thank you.
Just quickly, if I may, I guess the reason why I had suggested this in the first place, I don't remember when it was, some time ago, it was with the idea that this space would be able to be utilized because we were bursting at seams. And so for me, I guess, if that's not, if this space is not going to remedy any pressing issue, then I'm just as comfortable staying here. I feel like we do have our own space here. That's ours. So that's where I stand. I guess we could take a vote now.
Mr. Chairman, move the previous question.
Mr. Sinella, move to vote. Just one last piece is, I guess, by curiosity, just if we were to vote yay or nay and we weren't able to revisit it, should we table this and see if this becomes a pressing issue months from now? This could be a pressing issue next month.
Right.
And then we could revisit it. We can move it quickly, we can do it on the turn of a dime. So maybe we table it, and then if this becomes a real pressing issue for semester 2, then we would revisit the vote.
We can always just vote again to go. Like if we needed to move to the city council chamber, someone can just introduce a motion to make us move over.
Mr. Chairman, I move the previous question.
Okay. Motion, I'm sorry, we have a roll call? So yes would be to move to City Hall chambers. A no vote would be to stay in the school committee chambers for the time being.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo, Mr. Caggiano,
No.
Mr. Kingston,
No.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
No.
Ms. Monterosso,
No.
Mr. Sinella,
No.
Mayor Keefe.
No, the motion fails. Thank you. We can always bring it back up another time. Keep it in our back pocket. You're good for now, Robin.
It's an option.
All right. The next item is, the next motion is to vote to accept the school improvement plans.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
I'm sorry, second.
Any discussion? Ms. Milbury Ellis?
So I have to be honest, I'm hesitant to vote on this for the reason that this is 11 plans that we're getting, and there's only 5 months left in these plans, right? Of the school year?
Yeah, I would prefer that the state let us do something reasonable, like set 3-year goals, but they don't. And you're right, you should have had these plans, usually you get them in November, that's usually when you vote on them. So we are definitely 2 meetings behind.
Thank you. It's just, it's difficult to give them the attention that they deserve in a short period of time. I did notice, though, that they all pretty much mirror off the 5-year plan and keep it in alliance with those goals. It just would have been better for me to have it far in advance. We got them, no.
We received them before the holidays, and then I sent a reminder email to everyone in case folks hadn't
Oh,
reviewed
okay.
them.
Yeah.
I missed
So we've
that, then. My
had
apologies.
a month and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry,
Mr.
can I say,
Kingston.
sorry, can I say one more thing, John, to Aisha's point? They are intentionally designed because we want to make sure that all of the work that we're doing in the district is pushing in the same direction. And so that's why we always start with the community meeting at the beginning of the 5 years that we're going to be doing this spring. to set the vision and the tone of what we want to work for the 5 years. And then just, refine that each year to get more specific in what we're going to do. And we always set the district improvement plan first. Typically, the school committee approves that in the summer, because then by state law, the schools are required to meet with their school improvement councils and teachers to write their school improvement plan, which has to be built off the district improvement plan. So that always takes us until October before a principal really has a team put together of parents and others to look at that work and make sure that it's aligned. And typically, they pull most of their goals off of the district improvement plan, but they tweak them or have some unique goals based on that school's needs. So that is the process that we usually use. And typically, they would have that done around the end of October, and the school committee would vote on them in November. This year, we did just get off track. I'm going to take ownership of that. I think the very beginning of the school year, we were so distracted with everything happening up here that I wasn't pushing principals to get their plans done. And that left us a little bit behind. So my apologies for that.
Thank you. And the only reason why, the only mention of the district plan was, I guess, just to say that I didn't notice anything unexpected. It was pretty much in line with what I was expecting. So, thank you.
Mr. Kingston.
I would just hope that we can get on track for the in November of 225 and vote on them then. I feel like I kind of feel like the horse has left the barn and now we're voting on it. And I'm just not comfortable with that part of it. I have no problem with what's in there. I've looked at it. I wish the vote had taken place in November. Thank you.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo, Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes. Ms. Monteroso.
We have one final motion from the COW. So the motion is to change the name of the Health and Special Ed Subcommittee to be called Student Supports.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo, Mr. Caggiano,
No.
Mr. Kingston,
No.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
No.
Ms. Monteroso,
No.
Mr. Sinella,
No.
Mayor Keefe.
No. Ms. Monteroso, any other motion? Okay. We are now, no new business. We are going to go into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, for the following purposes, to discuss the, pardon me? For purpose two.
So motion to enter into executive session.
Yes, and we have a second, and we'll do a roll call. No.
Okay.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo, Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis, Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes, and before we officially enter executive session, we will not be returning for this evening, so the regular meeting is adjourned. Thank you.